Is Gail here yet? She's here. Okay. All right. I was so inspired by the response I got to the last class. I have a little audience today. Anyway, in the last class that I gave, I had just given in the morning a class to the Kirtan school in Russia. And I was very enlivened. And I was so busy because I was with the Iranian devotees, and then I was with, I went in twice to the Russian devotees. Yeah, I was really busy. So I didn't have my kind of preparation thing. So I thought, let me just say what I did with the Kirtan school. But I said, okay, I was up to Rāmānanda Samvad, this discussion between Rāmānanda Rāya and Lord Chaitanya, and I was going to stop because it got to such high subjects that even Lord Chaitanya Rāmānanda Rāya were like saying, how can we go on with this? So I thought, I'm ending that, but I'll just read one verse. And then I got into it and I discussed it. And then the devotees became so enlivened, and I started getting so many nice messages that I said, okay, let's see if we can continue it. Gail, before we begin, are you there, Gail?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Yes.
Remember I told you about that lady that asked all the questions?
Yes. She's there?
She was just 2 hours with me, asking every subtle question in the world. Would you like to meet her?
Of course.
Okay.
Turn on my camera.
Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
So nice.
Is it Sudeshwari? Is it?
Satya. That's Sudeshwari's daughter.
Oh, okay. Hare Krishna, Satya. It's nice to meet. I'm only seeing half your face, though.
Can you see it now?
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, well, we're going to have to double team Maharaj.
She has such tough questions, Gail. I don't even give a class. I'm so exhausted. You know, the whole humility, self-esteem, but in very subtle things. And anyway, okay, you can put me on now again. Okay. She's very smart. Okay. Okay, let's go where we're at. Oh no, oh my God. I gotta find the, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, I just gotta find my spot. Okay, almost there. No. Okay. Reading from Caitanya-caritāmṛta, chapter 8. You can all see me in the audience here? Not too, okay. Chapter 8, text 117. Prabhu kahe, lāgi, āilāma tomā-sthāne, Say saba tattva-vastu haila mora jñāne. After hearing this, Lord Chaitanya said to Rāmānanda Rāya, that which I have come to your residence has now become an object of truth in my knowledge. Om jñāne-timirandasya kananjana shalakaya taksurun militamyena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, I wasn't going to actually speak on this subject. I was explaining to the audience here. I was extremely busy. And I don't need to prepare much, but I like to know what I'm saying and whatever, something. But I was so busy, and I had given a class in the morning in the Kirtan school in Russia online. So I thought I would just kind of do the same thing, make it easy. But I said, okay, I'll just read one verse. I have like a verse, and then I'll say what I want. But I began speaking on it. And then I got so much response that people were so appreciative of it. So I said, okay, why don't I try to continue on it? So let me do this, because I have some people here that haven't been with us. I'll briefly tell what's happening is, Lord Chaitanya, the second part of his life is the madhya-lila. And that's from 24 to 30. And he's kind of basically setting it's called the Charya-lila, the example of how you become a devotee. Such as sometimes I'm giving a lecture on Gaur Purnima, and I'm trying to introduce it to like a new audience. And it's very important how you begin your class. You got to kind of capture the audience. So a lot of time is you make the audience active rather than passive. So I asked the question. The question was, God has a problem. It's the same problem we have. What is it? So, now everybody's the mind. And then the answer is kind of humorous, but it explains Lord Chaitanya's tattva. What's God's problem? He's not a devotee. So the whole idea of Lord Chaitanya is God becoming a devotee. So his life is showing us how to become a devotee. And it's not just like sari or dhoti or tilak. It's actually developing a relationship to Krishna at the deepest platform. So, and his life is divided into two, Adi and Sesha, and then Sesha has Madhyam and Ancha. But first 24 is in Navadvip, and then he takes sannyas. And then he travels for 6 years. And that's kind of an important, there's different levels of sannyas. The third level is parivrajikacharya, where you travel widely. And then the last level is paramahamsa, you stay in one place. But the whole idea of all the stages of sannyas is to put yourself in a situation where you're forced to depend on God, and therefore see that God is actually the maintainer. But unless you put yourself in a situation, you'll be on the illusion that it's actually you that's doing it. So the sannyas was you travel, and when you travel, you don't have it set up, right? When you have your own house, everything's set up. And it creates a certain consciousness that I'm the controller and I'm the enjoyer. I've set this up for me. And where you're going to eat, food comes. Where you're going to get shelter, God protects you. So like that. So Lord Chaitanya is traveling. And because he's on such a high platform, he's moving by the heart rather than the head. It's just where his heart takes him. And then I describe something called the transcendental system, that when you want the truth deep in your heart, God hears that voice and directs someone who has that truth to meet you. Like I said, some of the people say, how do you find a guru? It's not that you go to the yellow pages. You start in the heart with that desire. I want the truth. And then Krishna connects. So it's kind of like that with Lord Chaitanya. Although it's called Rāmānanda Samvad, not Rāmānanda Siksha, even though Rāmānanda Rāya is kind of instructing and Lord Chaitanya is asking the questions, it's actually called Samvad. It's actually a discussion. And it begins with this incredible analogy with the ocean and the rain clouds. The ocean seems to get its water from the rain clouds, but how do the rain clouds get the water? The ocean evaporates. So the same analogy is there, even though Rāmānanda Rāya is instructing Lord Chaitanya, ultimately it's coming from Lord Chaitanya. So it gives that beautiful analogy. And then, internally it's Vishaka and Radha, and the Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of Radha, and Rāmānanda Rāya is actually Vishaka, and they kind of meet, but they realize because Rāmānanda Rāya is a magistrate and he's surrounded by so many people, they can't really exchange there confidentially. When they do it a little bit, they can become so overwhelmed, they're rolling on the ground and they look over, hey, all the Brahmins that I've taken, because when the magistrate takes bath, the Brahmins are chanting mantras, they're all looking. Let's meet in a secluded place. And it was specifically Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said that if you want to learn Raganuga Bhakti, if you want to learn the deeper subjects of Krishna consciousness, Rāmānanda Rāya is the person. So somehow in the Godavari River they meet, and then Lord Chaitanya asked this question, can you ascertain and give me a verse that explains the Sadyasar, the essence of the goal? And then Lord Chaitanya, Rāmānanda Rāya gives answers and verses that express it, but Lord Chaitanya keeps on saying it's external. And then he comes to a verse, he says, oh, this is good. But he always says, Eobaya, Arkitra, go further, go further, go further. And then they even get to Uttama, this is best, and they keep on going further. So the basic concept is there are verses in the Shastra that strongly recommend devotional service, but at different levels. But Lord Chaitanya wanted the Sadyasar, the essence of the top. So he kept on saying, go further. And I gave an example how kind of levels of bhakti work. The sun and the sun rays, they're the same, but the sun is more intense. So it's the same thing with even bhakti. There's bhakti and it becomes condensed and more intense in different relationships. And before that, it's not just the question that the sun rays are heat and light and then the sun is just condensed. Before that, it's mixed with something external. Like first he mentions Varnashram, and Lord Chaitanya says, Ehabhaya, that's external. Even though the verse was, if you perform these duties, God is pleased, and this is the best thing. He says it's external. And what's external? It's external because it's mixed with your own desires. And it's external to the soul, which is consciousness, which reaches its fruition in love. The soul is selflessness. The soul is selflessness. So other activities, they're kind of mixed with you working through your desires or you're offering your desires to Krishna. So yes, Varnashram is great. To do your duties is wonderful. But why are you doing your duties? why they're prescribed because of a particular material condition. So that it's mixed with something that's selfish. And even the verse, Yat karoshi asnasi, whatever you do, whatever give to me. But why are you doing it? Because you have an impulse based on the body. So even that's external. And then even the verse that mentions sarvadhamma, give up everything, that's renunciation is also external. It's not purely the soul. The soul's not renounced. It's dedicated to Krishna. Renunciation deals with the world. So it keeps on going until it comes to the point of just sit and listen to a self-realized soul about Krishna. Then he said, jñāne piyasam, and give up all other consideration. That's okay. And it kept on getting higher and higher and higher. And then then he started quoting verses in different relationships, like Dasyarat, the servant. But Lord Chaitanya said, that's okay, but I want something more. Because that also, there's something else besides when you worship God in majesty, there's something else besides bhakti, technically. And what is that? There's an obligation. You must do it. If you're dealing with your master, so you must do it. And then there's a fear. Well, there's certain rules to do. And then there's a distance. So even though it was like beautiful, like verses about being servant of Krishna, he said, then he came to friendship and he gave verses about friendship. And he said, hey, this is best. Why? Because it's more, the bhakti is more dense. There's no obligation, there's no duty. And then further he went to Prenta. Then he went to the gopis and he said, wow, he said, now this is what, and he gave all these beautiful, that's why the devotees are so alive in all these verses that Rāmānanda Rāya was giving about the love of the gopis and the pariyeham. Krishna says, I can't repay you. I can't repay you. You'll just have to satisfy with your love of itself. I can't repay you. Your love is so forceful. I describe Krishna is worshiping everyone, serving everyone. The gopis are just worshiping Krishna. So I can't repay you. I can't give up. So he came to that, and then Lord Chaitanya said, this is best, but maybe you can go a little bit more. And then he explained the love of Radha and how that was even better than the love of the gopis. And he quoted the whole Bhagavatam, right? That Krishna couldn't be intimate with Radha because there were so many gopis. Even though Krishna said, I cannot, yeyatam mam prapadyante tamsatam, that as one serves me, I reward accordingly. He said, but I can't repay you. Krishna says, I promise that if someone serves me, as one surrenders to me, I respond accordingly. He said, but I can't. But I can't reciprocate with you. There's no way I can reciprocate with you. You've given me more than I can give you. But then it comes that still, when Radharani leaves the rasa dance, Krishna leaves the rasa dance. And then the gopis began looking for Krishna, and then they see another pair of footprints. And then Radharani's name is mentioned in the Bhagavatam indirectly. Aniya radito nunam bhagavan harir ishvara. There is no other aniya radito who has worshipped you that this gopi. The other gopis are saying, because even though you had to leave. And then there was a verse that said, since Krishna's lusty desires were not satisfied even in the midst of hundreds of thousands of gopis, and he was searching after Srimati Radharani, we can easily imagine how transcendently qualified she is. So after this whole discussion, then Lord Chaitanya says to Rāmānanda Rāya, that which I've come to your residence has now become an object of truth. It's become tattva-vastu. Vastu, like Vastu Shastra, Vastu means substance. Like in perfection, there's Sarup Siddhi and there's Vastu Siddhi. Sarup Siddhi is when you have a mental conception of your relationship with Krishna at a very advanced level. You'll start having at a very advanced level, you'll start having, it's almost an imagination, but it's imagination based on the reality of who you are. You'll start focusing on something. Initially, you'll start focusing on a relationship with Krishna, and then you'll start be focusing on a person in that relationship that you want to serve, and then you'll start focusing on a mood or desire that you have, and maybe there'll be some form that you'll see. Sarup Siddhi, the perfection of your own identity. But it'll still be, then there's Vastu Siddhi. Vastu, the substance, you'll actually be situated in your relationship. It's not just in the mind. You'll actually be entering into a relationship with Krishna. So here he says, say saba, of all these things, I've come to your residence. Now this has become the tattva-vastu. Tattva means subject. Tat means thatness, realityness, truth. Vastu, this is the substance of everything I wanted that I've come to. I asked you to ascertain the verse that is the sadyasara, the essence of all the essence of the goal of everything. And now that has happened now. Mora jñāne, I'm in knowledge now. Mora jñāne, I am in knowledge now from coming to you and asking these questions of the tattva-vastu, the substance of truth. Now we're going to have fun. We'll see where this goes. And I don't know if I can go any higher than this because I don't. So now Lord Chaitanya continues. Now Lord Chaitanya continues. Would you like to sit on a chair? Would you be more comfortable? Okay, but would you be more comfortable with a chair? Okay. Prabhu kahe. He says now, Ebe say Janilun Sadhya Sadhana Nirnoy. This Nirnoy was used, ascertain. Nana Shastra Vicharanayika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako. No. Lokanamita Nana Shastra Vicharan. That's Vicharanayika. This is Nirnoy, means to ascertain. A sabe janalin sadhya sadhana nirnoy. Age achi kichu sunite. Now I've come to understand the sublime goal of life and the process of achieving it. I've achieved now by being with you and asking these questions, I've come to this. Sadhana, sadhya, nirnoy. You have ascertained the goal and the practice. Age, are, ache, kichu, sunite. I think there's something more. And my mind is desiring to hear it. I think there's something more. And this is what he wants more. Krishnera Sarup Koi, Radhera Sarup, Rasa Kon Tattva Prema, Kon Tattva. This is what I want to know more. Kindly explain the transcendental features of Krishna and Srimati Radharani. I want to know their forms. Also explain the truth of transcendental mellows and the transcendental form of love of Godhead. So what does he want to know? Krishna Sarup, Radha Sarup, Rasa Kon Tattva, Prema Kon Tattva Rup. I want to know about Radha's form. I I want to know about Krishna's form. I want to know about Rasa Tattva, and I want to know what prema is. And this is what Rāmānanda Rāya, he said, kindly explain all these truths to me, but for yourself, no one else can ascertain them. Sri Rāmānanda Rāya replied, I do not know anything about this. I simply vibrate the sound you make me speak. This is what we're talking about. The confidence is in the humility. The confidence is in the humility. When you become humble, then you feel Krishna can use me as an instrument. Otherwise, it's way beyond it. So he's asking Rāmānanda Rāya these subjects, Krishna Swarup, Radha Swarup, and it's not like there was the internet, they just put it in there. This is anarpita charim charat karunayavatirna. Anarpita, never before given. Charim charat, for a very long time. Karunaya, in this age, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Anarpita charim charat karunayavata. Samarpiyatam, they gave. Unatoj rasam, this unatoj ujvala ras, given. Swabha, my own bhakti. Krishna is saying, never before have I given the brilliant rasa of my own special high bhakti to me. I've never before given this. So when he's asking these questions, I'm joking in one sense, not the modern age, everybody goes on the internet, rasa.com, this go to siddhanta.com, this.com, no one understands it, but at least they're not surprised. But now to ask these questions, and what does Rāmānanda Rāya reply? That's why this is very important. Whenever you speak, you have to have prayers first. Because you can't understand God just by your intellect. Prabhupada said, it's not like, he said, it's not an intellectual process, but it's not like the guru puts his finger and there's an electric shock and you become enlightened. It's you use your intelligence in Krishna's service, and then he empowers you. But without that, Tesham Satati Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipur Dadami Bhuya, one who worships me with faith, I give them the knowledge. Otherwise, you can't like logically figure it out. Oh yeah, and okay, and this is this, and okay, God must be blue, okay, and this and and he must have a flute. I gave this seminar. I'm talking to Satya a little bit here. It's okay, right? I gave this seminar. I was preaching in the yoga world. And I was like practically the first one to preach in the yoga world in America, practically speaking. And, before that, no one was coming to Krishna consciousness. It was very enlivening. And then I became the spiritual director of one major yoga studio, the person I met here in Vrindavan. And I was giving seminars to establish my authority because we have so much different knowledge on karma and so many things. And then it became time to present Krishna. So I gave a seminar, Can God Be Blue? A Study of Krishna. And I began with the question, Satya, to the audience. Why is God blue? And I answered to them, if there is a reason why God's blue, he's not God, because then there's a cause of his existence. Why is God blue? Because God wants to be blue. There's no other reason for it. So just showing them that you can't come logically to the conclusion. So when you actually are speaking on spiritual subjects, you have to be humble.
I listened to that class.
What?
I heard that class.
You heard that class? Okay. Interesting. I didn't know you were secretly hearing my classes. But it has to be empowered. You have to have prayer. You have to have prayer. You have to begin with prayer. You have to begin with prayer. God has to speak through you. Otherwise, so he says, I simply vibrate with what sound you make me speak. I simply repeat like a parrot whatever instructions you have given me. You are the Supreme Personality of God in himself. Who can understand your dramatic performances? You inspire me within the heart and make me speak with the tongue. I do not know whether I am speaking well or badly. There's a verse, I forgot, I can't remember it now. It says, Vyas may or may not know, meaning that in spiritual subjects, God speaks through you. It may even be beyond your own intellect, and it may come out logical and lucid. You may or may not know yourself. And so Rāmānanda Rāya is being asked to speak the highest subject matters, and he has to begin at a platform of humility. Because again, he has talents, obviously, but he has to be an instrument for it. And otherwise, he won't be able to speak. He has to become an instrument. He has to be humble. And without humility, you can't actually realize the absolute truth, because you won't be in a perspective to understand it. If you think you're the center, you'll never see who is. So there has to be this kind of, Lord Chaitanya said, because now we glorified Lord Chaitanya, such a long day today. Are you pretty tired?
No. I'm just like right absorbed.
Okay, because I'm very attuned to the audience. I want to make sure. Okay, because the chair is there waiting for you. Okay? Okay, Lord Chaitanya said, I am a Mayavadi in the renounced order, and I do not even know what transcendental loving service to the Lord is. I'm simply float in the ocean of Mayavad philosophy. Well, he did take in Advaita Vedanta line, but of course he was Bhakta. But anyway, Lord Chaitanya, it's a transcendental competition because the nature of, and this is seen in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and we talked about this, happy small. When you're feeling mercy, it's such a wonderful feeling. So when you're feeling mercy like this, and someone said, Jai, 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 Jai Maharaj, Jai Gurudev, Jai, Jai, Jai. And if you go, huh? Yes. And you come out like this, it ruins the bhav, and a person knows that they're I described the child in the mother's arms doesn't want to be the big kid. So when a Vaishnava is actually feeling that mercy, that love, that mercy, it's such a wonderful feeling. They have a conception of that ego. And even though it was the thing they were always aspiring for, they're abstracted from it. And they don't want to enter there. When I do japa seminars, the end of the seminar, I bring people, the goal is to live in the heart. And the heart is gratitude, the heart is compassion, the heart is service, the heart is humility. And you bring a person there, and then they're able to extract themselves to the chatty mind, the chatty voice based on the ego and the ambitions. And I tell them, just look at that now. That's not you. Mm-hmm. Right? And don't go there yet, because if I don't tell you this, you'll just wake up and say, yeah, hey, how are you going? And the whole ego manifests again, you know? So, just stay there in that position. But someone who's self-realized, like, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, every time Narada Muni says, you're the topmost devotee, they say, may bhakti nehu, I'm not a devotee. They don't want to leave that So you'll see if this glorification among the Vaishnavas is always kind of like Tai Chi, trying to deflect the, deflect all the praise, deflect all the praise. They don't want to be there. So Lord Chaitanya is just deflecting it. And we discussed this too. A devotee, it may sound like, wait, this is not true. He doesn't realize this. This is just words. But there's a certain mood of a devotee really going into you see, when you're very pure, I describe like a clean glass of water, every speck of dirt is seen. And when you're all full of it, then, you don't see any faults. The grossest faults you won't see. But a humble person, you'll see his faults. So he's just in that mood. I've taken the Ekadanda, Mayavadi sannyasi, I don't know what service to Krishna is. You're Rāmānanda Rāya. Sarva, Boma, Sanga, Mora, Mana, Niyamahoya, Krishna, Bhakti, Tattva-kaya. Due to association of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, my mind became enlightened. Therefore, I asked him about the truths of transcendental loving service to Krishna. Because I had the association of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he told me, I don't know about Krishna. They're only known to Rāmānanda Rāya, and he's not here. So Lord Chaitanya is saying, he told me to go to you to learn these things. Don't say that I'm just vibrating and this like that. No, you have that. I want to know Radhara Sarupa, Krishna Sarupa, Rasa Kon, Tattva, Prem, Tong. I want to know all these things. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he said, I didn't know. He said, you know them. So you tell me about them. Lord Chaitanya continued. After hearing about your glories, I have come to your place, but you offer me words of praise out of respect for sannyasi, one in the renounced order of life. Kiva Vipra, Kiva Nasi, Suja Kena Hoy, Ye Krishna Veta Tattva. Say, don't say I'm a sannyasi, whether one's a Brahmin, a sannyasi, or a Sudra, regardless. If he knows the tattva of Krishna, he can become guru. This is the standard. Prabhupada's purpose are very long about this. Our standard is Kiba Vipa, Kiba Nasi, Sakena Sudra, Ye Krishna Veta Tattva, say Guru Lord. Sadkarma Nipano Vipro, Sadkarma Nipano, expert Vipra, Mantra, Tantra, Vishard, and all these things. A Vaishnava, Guru Nisad. If you're not a Vaishnava, you can't be a Guru. Vaishnava Swapacho Guru. If you're a Vaishnava, if you're one of a family of dog eaters, you could be a Guru. But Vaishnava, ultimately the word Vaishnava and humility mean the same thing. Because Vaishnava means I accept there's something higher, I say this many times, than my opinion on what is the goal of life and what is happiness. Because I failed at it life after life after life after life. I'm seeking something more. Vaishnava means you accept God. It'd really be wonderful if everyone really accept God, really accept God. There's this one psychologist I was telling you I was going to, because he spoke a lot about the Bible and these things, very brilliant guy. So he seems to have very high morals. And he never admitted that he believed in God, but everything he said seemed to indicate it. So he was meeting this very scholar who was a very religious person and said, do you believe in God? He wanted to know. And the guy said, he started thinking about that. He says, I don't know. But when he said, I don't know, because for him, this guy, whatever he said he had to live by. That was his nature. He was very careful because he thought, well, if I believe in God, what does that mean? It's so heavy. It means there's an absolute truth. Am I living as there is an absolute truth? Can I claim I believe in God? What does that mean? Because to him, believe wasn't a cheap term. So, Vaishnava is not, Prabhupada said, not an ordinary thing. Humility is not an ordinary thing. Because you accept that there is an absolute truth. There's an authority. Not someone over you, but knowledge. There's an absolute truth. There's knowledge, and to live by that. So he said, so Lord Chaitanya said, I'm a sannyasi. That's not the standard. What the standard is Krishna-katha, that you know the science of God. What Prabhupada goes on to pages and pages on this purport as well, 7-8 pages. Chaitanya continued, please do not treat me, thinking me a sannyasi. Please satisfy my mind just describing the truth of Radha and Krishna. Yadyapi Roy, Preme Mahabhagavate, Tandra Mana Krishna Moya Nari Achate. He said, Rāmānanda Rāya was a great devotee of the Lord, a lover of God, and although his mind could not be covered by Krishna's illusory energy, and although he could understand the mind of the Lord, which was very strong and intense, Rāmānanda Rāya became a little agitated. Rāmānanda said, I'm just a dancing puppet, and you pull the strings. Whatever way you make me dance, I will dance. My dear Lord, my tongue is just like a stringed instrument, and you are its player. Therefore, I simply vibrate whatever arises in your mind. So this is, again, the analogy at the beginning. The ocean and the rain are having an argument. Who filled who? That's why at the very beginning, this analogy set up. He's saying, yeah, Lord Chaitanya is saying, you're the one that's pouring the rain on me. And he's saying, what are you saying? I'm getting it's getting from you. My dear Lord, my tongue is just like a string instrument. You are the player. Therefore, I simply vibrate whatever arises in your mind. Rāmānanda Rāya then began to speak on Krishna tattva. So he then began to speak. Parama Ishvara Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Sava Avatari Sava Karana Pradhan. Just reading that verse, just imagine. No word processor. It was so funny. My computer broke, so I couldn't write my Monday morning greeting. I had to write it on an iPhone, right? So I'm writing to write an iPhone. So I'm in Vrindavan. I tell this to one lady that was on Raghunath's group. She said, why did you use a pen and paper? And I just thought, why didn't I use a pen and paper? I just thought it felt so stupid. It was like, it would have been, I can't even, besides the fact, even if I could do that, it was so conditioned. This is what I mean.
Oh, that's great.
We're entranced in a narrative. People are creating realities for us. And people are living in various realities. And there are forces in the world that are making people think in a way. And so I'm just thinking, They've been doing it for thousands of years. My computer broke. It is. Look, everyone's laughing hysterically at me now. I got an audience that's just laughing. I like to laugh at myself too, but I just thought, yeah, why not? Why not? I simply, but look at this. He's writing. This is why Krishna Das Kaviraj Rasika Bhakta Marj. He is the top chief Marj of the Rasika Bhaktas, to be able to conceptualize it. He wrote the teachings, the life and the teaching of Lord Chaitanya in poetry. And there's so many exact rules for it. So, I mean, I'm just thinking now he's saying, just look at the words, Parama Ishvara Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Saba Avatari Sava Karana Pradhan. So he says, okay, you want me to speak? Krishna is the supreme. He's the original Godhead, the source of all incarnations and the cause of all causes. Ananta Vaikuntha Ara Ananta Avatar, Ananta Brahmananda Ihan Saba Adar. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets as well as innumerable incarnations. In the material world also, there are innumerable universes, and Krishna is the supreme resting place of all. The transcendental body of Sri Krishna is eternal and full of bliss and knowledge. He is the son of Nanda Maharaj. He's full of all opulences and potencies, as well as all spiritual mellows. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karna Karanam. So he's quoting these verses. Vrindavane Apakrita Navin. In the spiritual realm of Vrindavan, Krishna is the spiritual ever fresh Cupid. He is worshipped by the chanting of the Kama Gayatri mantra with the spiritual seed Kleem. Okay, think, wow, such long purports. So anyway, now he's going to speak about Krishna tattva. It goes on and on and on till it comes to this incredible conception that in the highest prema, Radha's so much thinking of Krishna, and Krishna is so much thinking of Radha that they forget their own identities. And that's that painting of Radha and Krishna kind of merging with, and that's what Gaur Govinda Maharaj was explaining when he passed from the world. In fact, two of the teachers who worked for me, Chandrika Mataji and Vaijanti Mala, I'm very close with. They were in the room asking him those questions, and he began to explain this whole kind of lila of, the whole Jagannath lila it's amazing. Jagannath is the highest manifestation of God because it's Krishna in the highest form of ecstasy in love of Radharani. So that's why it was the Ishtadev of Lord Chaitanya. The Ishtadev, Lord Chaitanya wanted a mood of Radha. What is a better deity for him than Radha and madly in love, than Krishna madly in love with Radha? So it's the highest form. Now, what we do, and we'll finish, and I'll let you also see that, is Jamuna Jaya there today? She usually begins with asking.
Yes. Hi, Maharaj.
Where are you?
Hello, other Gail. It was so beautiful to have Gail Darshan and to see Gail's compatriot in questioning. Thank you for that. I really love I feel like this is definitely a button for next year, Maharaj, when you said the confidence is in the humility. That was such a mic drop. Like to have the humility is the way, like you said, that's like, I'm not speaking. This is Krishna speaking. This is the divine speaking. So that's my confidence. It's not me. I love that point so much. And I'm just loving this whole pastime is just so beautiful. So thank you, Maharaj.
Thanks, Jimmy. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is a little tiny question. Is there time?
Okay.
Okay. You know, in that part of the Sambad where, you know, there was this competition, who is getting the rain from whom, right? And then there was the line that said, you know, Rāmānanda Rāya was feeling agitated. And so, you know, when I think of agitation, I think either one is disturbed by, you know, desires or is some anxiety. But what was the nature of that agitation? I couldn't understand.
I have to go, let me go back to that particular verse before I can answer it. That's an easy one. I mean, compared to the one she really answered. Let me, where he said he was agitated. Oh man, I gotta find it. It's a fact, like I passed over that and I didn't understand the next time I knew she would ask. I knew it. So let me get back to it. Now I have to see if I can answer it. Okay, let me go very quickly. Gail, somehow I can't find that verse. So I'd like to. Gail, I can't find that verse.
Okay, but it was one of the latter ones, you know, it was
one of the last ones I spoke?
Yes, yeah, it was the time when, you know, Rāmānanda Rāya was saying, you know, no, I got this knowledge from you, you know.
Anyway, next class, I'll look it up and find it. But I mean, yeah, agitation can be, I don't know exactly why, but the concept of agitation in bhakti is when there's a strong emotion, the mind vibrates and it affects the life airs. Mm-hmm. And when it affects the life airs come in contact with various elements in the body. It comes in contact with the water element, tears, the air element, the hair stand on end, or the body shakes, or the earth, one becomes stunned, and it's an ecstatic feeling. So there's a kind of agitation, a movement of the mind that's apparently externally disturbing that creates an ecstasy. So I'd have to see it. Okay, anybody else like? Yeah, we'll do that. I'll look it up in context.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll just finish it up. Anybody else like to say hello?
Maharaj, Yudhisthira here. Always best wishes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Nice to see you, Yudhisthira. Haribo.
Haribo.
Great to see you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Tota Gopinath here. So great to hear from you.
Okay, we'll see you in Brudge. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Dear Maharaj, this is Divya Shakti. Thank you so much for this lecture and for the opportunity to be here today. Hare Krishna.
Great, great. Nice to see you. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Narmasakya here.
Okay.
Haribol, Satya. Haribol, nice to see you there.
No, you can't see. This is Iran. You don't always get the reception you want. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Gopi Gita. Thank you for class.
Oh, okay, great. We'll see you in Colombia in March. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Oh,
okay, I see Isabel.
Yeah.
Okay, Yamasundar, you want to say hello to Satya?
Yeah, hi Satya, how are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
She never misses class, never. Anybody else say hello today?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Krishna-katha. Thank you so much. So important things. Wonderful.
Great to see you. Thank you. Who else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Lal Govinda.
And Braja.
Thank you for class.
Hey, okay. Nice to see both of you. I'm a little bit on the side here. Everybody wants to see. Okay. Anybody else? That's your. Okay. One more person.
Hare Krishna Gurudev. Hare Krishna. It's
Amala. Good to see you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Good. One more. Anybody else? Okay. We'll end for now. Okay.